Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, wherever you are. Good afternoon. Welcome to my Facebook Live series. This is the first part of many. This will be entitled A Voice from the Ever Change. The title is the title of my new book. So I'll give a little bit of background about what we're going to do here as I pull in. The intention behind this video series is to help with the world climate, the world situation. I'm sure everyone here is aware of what is happening right now. And I thought this book that I've written, A Voice from the Ever Change, might be effective in helping. The topics in this book, the chapters are titled Meditation, which of course can be of great benefit in adversity, loving kindness, a great way of easing the heart when there's fear abound, impermanence, something we're all staring right in the face at this moment, gratitude, a great way of countering fear, and the practice of complete resting. I hardly need to go into the benefits of that, right? So, in the chapter A Voice from the Ever Change, or in the book rather, each one of those topics is given a chapter. Now this is much different than my first book, Such Sweet Thunder. Such Sweet Thunder was a meditation guide, or is a meditation guide. But A Voice from the Ever Change is actually a book of poetry. So it was a much different effort. And so I'll give a little bit of background on A Voice from the Ever Change. Now, as some of you here are watching, or if you're watching later, tuning in, you'll know that not that long ago, several months ago, I was offered a job at the wonderful Recovery Center, Intentional Center entitled the New Life Foundation in northern Thailand, in Chiang Rai. Of course, I accepted the job to front the meditation program there very happily. Now, as a part of that job, I was asked to lead a meditation every morning at the morning meeting for the whole community, for everyone living there at New Life Foundation. And so as a way of bringing the community into that meditation, I was asked to read something inspiring. Now, I would often spend hours leafing through some really wonderful texts, looking for inspirational writings, and I could never quite find the right one. And I quickly realized that I was actually looking in these texts for something in my own voice. I thought, well, that's rather silly, isn't it? Why don't I just write something? And so A Voice from the Ever Change was born out of that effort. So here in this video series, I'm going to read the poem much in the same way I read the poem at the morning meditation sessions at New Life. I'll guide us into a meditation. We'll rest in that silence cultivated by the meditation practice. And then I will read the poem. Now, in the book A Voice from the Ever Change, I actually follow up the poem with a commentary. What came to me during the meditation on this poem. So I'll read here a bit of the commentary. The commentaries sometimes can be quite long, so I'll leave some silence. We'll do a little bit more meditating on what was read. I might improvise a little bit and so forth. If you're familiar at all with my teachings, you know how I like to improvise. So that's the basic structure of how these video episodes will proceed. I'll ring the bell, I'll guide us into silence, I'll read the poem, we'll do a little more silence, and then I'll read the commentary on the poem. Now, for those of you watching, questions might arise. That's great if that happens. Do send those questions over. Now, I may or may not get to the questions this evening, but each Sunday I will do a whole episode of question-answer sessions. So tune in on Sunday. If you have a question, send it over. Tune in on Sunday, and I'll be answering all of the questions that I receive as a result of these series. Also, if anybody here would like a copy of the book, I'm happy to send a PDF version of A Voice from the Everchange so you can read along. That might be really beneficial. So if you'd like a copy of A Voice from the Everchange, I'll send a PDF to you if you just send me your email address through Messenger or through Facebook. That's fine. Happy to do that. Okay, and I think that's all I wanted to say as an introduction. So it's meditation time. And so I know you're excited, and I am too. I'm going to ring the bell. Guide us into silence. And in that silent space, I'll read this poem that I composed. Allow the words of this poem to guide your awareness wherever the words may want to take you. There's no right or wrong about that. We'll rest in silence just a bit longer after the poem is read, and then I will proceed with the commentary. Enjoy. So allowing the body, mind, and heart to rest, just coming into this very present moment experience. Noticing the breath as it enters and leaves the nose. There might be a cool or a dry sensation there. Perhaps the temperature is slightly different in one nostril over the other. Noticing the breath as it touches the back of the throat. There might be a tingling or a dry sensation at the back of the throat, or you might simply notice the temperature changing from cooler to warmer as you inhale and exhale. Allowing awareness to expand to include the rib cage, expanding and contracting with each breath. You might also notice the abdomen rising and falling as you inhale and exhale. There might be sensations of the back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. And you might also notice the shoulders rising and falling with each breath. And while maintaining awareness on the sensations of the breath, allow awareness to expand, to include any sensations of clothing, resting against the shoulders. There might be sensations of the arms resting against the body, the hands resting against the body or touching each other. You might also notice the sensations of clothing against the back. There might be sensations of the body against the chair or cushion. You might also notice sensations of clothing against the legs, the feet against the floor. And while maintaining awareness on all of that, all at the same time, bringing attention to the top of the head. There might be a tingling or a cool sensation there. There might be very little or no sensation. That's also okay. Allowing awareness to expand through the back of the head. There might be sensations arising from the ears, the back of the neck, sensations arising in the face, the chin, the lips, the nose, the eyes, the forehead, and returning back to the top of the head. And while resting, awareness on the breath from the nose to the abdomen to the nose. Sensations arising throughout the body, from the top of the head to the bottoms of the feet. You may also notice any sounds arising in this present moment experience. We don't need to focus on any one particular sound, but rather allow awareness to rest and simply be aware of all of the sounds, all at the same time. Noticing the field of sound, as if you are listening to a symphony orchestrated by the present moment. And in addition to any sounds, paying close attention to that quality of silent space which surrounds the present moment. There's always a backdrop of stillness which permeates the present moment. So allowing the sensations of the breath, the body, the sounds and silence to bring us to this present moment right here and right now. And just rest, breathing in and breathing out. And if your mind wanders into thought, you can label the thoughts with the word thinking, which will allow the thoughts to go, and you can gently return back to the present moment. The breath, the body, silence and sound, and just rest. And here is the poem. There is a very common misconception that the practice of meditation is designed to stop the thinking mind, to clear the mind of thoughts. That is not so. As we recognize the thinking process, as we experience the transient nature of thoughts, our relationship to our thinking changes by returning to the silence in between the thoughts. the gap. When we return to the gap, we begin to notice how each thought gives rise to desire, aversion, or indifference. This creates the experience of other. In the silence of meditation, we see how we give birth to other with each thought, creating otherness when there is only just this. Not two, not one, just. Rest there. The commentary. I often find that when people begin to meditate, they have this odd misconception that as soon as the meditation bell is sounded, their mind will somehow magically clear, and they will then be able to sit in pristine awareness for the entire session. That this meditation bell is somehow endowed with an invisible mind-cleansing elixir which can magically wash away discursive thought and distraction. This, of course, never happens. In fact, the reality of the situation is usually quite different. The meditation bell rings, and we may feel a breath or two in awareness, and as soon as our internal dialogue settles, the mind is off to the races. Thought after distracting thought comes barreling through our awareness like a bull in a china shop, smashing any semblance of peace and tranquility in a raging fury of past regrets and future stresses. Welcome to meditation. I'm sure some of you already had that experience in those few minutes there. So if there are any questions or comments about that, please do send those along. And I'll continue with the commentary. When someone comes to a meditation session with this type of expectation, it is similar to when I go to the gym. And without lifting any weights, I wonder why my arms aren't big and swollen with muscle. In both examples, the expected results are being practiced rather than the methods needed to achieve those results. This is quite important. When we practice the results rather than the methods needed to achieve those results, we are headed straight into frustration land. The method in meditation is to sit and rest in the experience of breathing. In this resting state, thoughts will naturally arise. Each time thoughts distract us from the breath, we label that occurrence with the word thinking. This labeling process shines the light of awareness on the unaware state of distraction. When we are distracted, we are no longer aware of the present moment experience. That is why I give it the title of unawareness. The distraction will dissolve in the light of awareness effortlessly. We do not need to exert any effort in allowing the thought to dissolve. Once the distraction is dissolved, we can then easily return back to the breath and resume meditating. We may then rest with the breath for maybe 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds. It doesn't matter how long that resting space lasts. But pretty soon, another thought will appear. You may have noticed this already. If you find you can maintain an open awareness in breathing, the thought will arise and pass on its own. If you find that you follow the thought, as most people will do, this is habitually ingrained into the nervous system to do so, then as soon as you recognize you are distracted, once again, just label this state thinking, thus shining the light of awareness on the distracted, unaware state, allowing the thought to dissolve and returning back to the present moment experience. Each time we go through this process of resting, distracted unawareness, remember, and return, we are lifting the awareness and attention weights. We're doing reps with the awareness and attention dumbbells, strengthening the muscles of awareness and attention with each repetition. Each time we label the distractions thinking and return back to the present moment, the breath in this example, we are getting stronger in awareness and attention. As a result of this method, our awareness and attention gradually get stronger and stronger. With the cultivated strength in awareness and attention, it becomes then easier to rest in the gap in between each thought. The strength cultivated by the repetition of distraction and return, like lifting weights, gives us the heightened sense of awareness and attention necessary to find that gap. When we find that gap, we begin to use our new, stronger awareness and attention to rest in that gap. And because resting in that gap feels good, we begin to use that strengthened awareness and attention to gradually widen that gap. We can rest there for longer and longer periods of distraction-free silence. But keep in mind that there will always be thoughts. No pun intended. In fact, the thoughts are what allow us to get stronger in our awareness and attention. If the meditation bell could really just ring and magically whisk our thoughts away with one chime, practicing the results rather than practicing the method to achieve the results, there would be no chance of cultivating our awareness and attention muscles. And I mention this simply because many people tell me, "Oh, Chris, I can't meditate. My mind is too active." To that I say, that's wonderful. Why? Because each thought is an opportunity to get stronger in awareness and attention. What a blessing it is to have an overactive mind, ripe with such opportunity. Making the claim that one cannot meditate due to an overactive mind is very similar to me saying, I can't exercise because there are too many weights in the gym. We can really see the silliness of this excuse when we look at it from this perspective. So we can be grateful for each distraction, recognizing each one as an opportunity to grow stronger in awareness and attention. That silence is always there in the mind. There is always a silent component behind the thinking mind. We fail to notice that silence because we are so hypnotized by the content of our thoughts. Much in the same way, most people do not hear the silence within the aural field, even though there is always a backdrop of silence behind the canopy of sound. People often fail to appreciate the empty qualities of experience because we're so drawn in by the material world. Most people fail to recognize that it is actually the emptiness of experience which allows anything to exist at all. How strange it is that we so easily miss that. And so coming back to the actual method of meditation, this method of labeling the distractions in meditation has a deeper benefit than just finding the gap. As beneficial and as healing as the silent creative force of the mind can be, even more fruitful is the skill of looking into one's own mind without judgment. With that same cultivated strength and awareness and attention, we learn to see and embrace every facet of ourself, each darkness and each light, each sadness and each joy, with an honest, open, and accepting heart. So, while resting with the breath, resting with the body, labeling the distracting thoughts, we are primarily looking into our mind. It is in this way of looking that we come to notice how certain experiences attract us and other experiences repel us. As we watch each thought arise out of that silent space in the mind, we may notice the duality inherent in the actual attraction or aversion impulses themselves. We may begin to recognize how our attractions create a separation between the desired and the desiring, other and self. We may also see how our aversions create a similar division between ourself and that which we push against. We can now see how the unity of the universe becomes divided into multiplicity with the arising of each thought laced with desire, craving, and aversion. It is important to remember that anything that is of the nature of being born is also of the nature of dying. Desire was born out of the silent space of awareness when our nervous system encountered something within its environment which it mistakenly felt it was lacking. Perhaps this desire feels to us like a tightening in the legs or arms, or a tension behind the eyes, or a rush of blood to the genitals, or a pang of hunger in the stomach. But if desire arises, it also ceases. And this desire arose, and so it naturally must cease. If, and this is the important part, if we can stop fueling the desire with our thoughts. It is the very act of thinking, obsessing, idealizing, and fantasizing about our object of desire which keeps our desire in place. When our desires and cravings are lodged in our mind through our thinking process, we become instinctive, unconscious, and reactive beings, chasing after this and pushing away that, causing ourselves and others to suffer as a result. When we see this pattern arising, we can then use the same tool of thinking, saying that word thinking, that we used in the meditation practice here as well. Labeling the thoughts about the object of desire as thinking and coming back to the very visceral experience of what is happening right now. And how do we do that? Well, we can use the following insight questions as pointers into the visceral physical experience. Those insight questions, those pointers, are as follows. Where is this desire in my body? Does this desire have a color? Does this desire have a flavor? Does this desire have a particular shape or feel? If we can hold the physical, bodily experience of desire while letting go of thinking and resting in the present moment at the same time, the actual desire itself will shift, wither, and fade away. Hold the physical sensations of desire, or any emotion. I simply use desire here as an example. You can use sadness, fear, lust, craving, any desire, any emotion, you hold that emotion in awareness in conjunction with the other physical sensations arising in the body. Sensations of clothing on the skin, perhaps the weight of the body against the chair or floor or cushion. You might notice the warmth of the sun against your skin or the breeze. Any of those sensations or other sensations, any present moment sensations, allow the mind to rest. When we do this, the emotion, being of the nature of arising, will also eventually cease on its own accord. All we need to do is rest into this process and allow the emotion to do what it naturally wants to do once it has been felt and released from the illusion of permanency cast upon it by our own thinking mind. You see, it's our thoughts about the emotion, our thoughts about the fear, our thoughts about the craving, about the desire, which keep that experience in place. We let the thoughts go, come to the present moment, and as every emotion arises, it also passes. You don't need to do anything about it, just rest. And I think that can be really, really helpful with this present moment world situation. When fear arises, when craving arises, when we want the present moment to be different, simply coming back to the sensations of the body, the breath, feeling what's arising emotionally, letting the thoughts go, and you'll notice that craving, that desire, that fear, that sadness simply arises and passes. Now, I recognize that when I talk about it, sometimes I make it sound quite easy. Arguably, it's one of the more challenging aspects of a meditation practice. So, if somebody would like more instruction on that, please do visit my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. Visit the Guided Meditations on Challenging Emotions page. There's several on that page dealing with different types of emotions, guiding a complete meditation on allowing emotions to arise and pass. By the way, those meditations are all for free. I'm not here trying to sell anything. I'm really here with the intention of helping. And so I'll continue with the commentary here. Again, if there are any questions or comments, please do send those along. I'll be hosting a question and answer session every Sunday evening, addressing any questions or concerns that might arise. Okay, the commentary. As we go through this process of recognizing the distracting thoughts and letting them go, we may become very intimate with our own mind. We take the opportunity to really spend time with our own thoughts, free from the distractions of the outside world. When we unplug from the external world, we see how easily we might get distracted and what takes us away. This could range from lust to anger to jealousy to fear to rage to a song from our teenage years to how many cabinet members President Donald Trump has fired to the grocery list that we have to do to the job interview next week. The more we are confronted with both the trivial and important, the sacred and the mundane, the shallow and the deep aspects of our own mind during meditation, the deeper our compassion becomes for all other human beings. This is so because we begin to recognize that this is not only happening in our own mind, but in the minds of all other human beings as well. We can now clearly understand that this is the condition of the human race at our current evolutionary stage. We begin to recognize the traps, pitfalls, and sufferings inherent in the human condition because in our own meditation practice we are allowed to see all of those same snares arise within our own thinking mind. We begin to see that all of the seeds of human behavior are housed right here in our own heart and in the hearts of each human being. It is only as a result of countless causes and conditions which arise as a result of various circumstances as one grows from birth that certain seeds get watered and other seeds do not. This insight gives rise to a natural compassion, as we can now equally relate to and identify with both the sinner and the saint, the perpetrator and the victim, the goddess and the demon. And I just want to read that last phrase again because I think that is so important. The insight that all of the seeds arise within our human heart. All of human potential is housed in each human heart. When we come to that insight, compassion is born. Because we can now equally relate to and identify with both the sinner and the saint, the perpetrator and the victim, the goddess and the demon, the victim and the perpetrator. We are all of that. We are all of that. And so I'm coming to the close of this first episode of A Voice from the Ever Change. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. If you do catch this on video, I thank you as well. Please, again, send any questions, comments, concerns about what you might have heard here today or about meditation in general over to my messenger. I'll again be hosting a Q&A session on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. in Thailand, which is 8 a.m. East Coast time in the States. You can also find out more about me and what I do, what I offer at www.suchsweetthunder.org. And if you'd like a copy of the new book, A Voice from the Ever Change, which this videocast will be based on, let me know. Send me a message with your email address. I'm happy to send out free PDFs to anyone who might like that. And I'd just like to add that we are going to overcome this global crisis. It might take some time, it might take some flexibility, some adaptability on all of our behalf. We might have to make sacrifices and changes that we don't want to make for the greater good of humanity. But what an honor it is to do that. How often do we get the chance to make that type of move? Now, all of the science, all of the doctors are telling people to stay home, Stay safe. Stay clean. Together, we can stop the spread of this virus. And so with that, I'll close. I will hopefully see some of you, all of you, more of you tomorrow at the same time. I'll be reading the next poem, and I think the next commentary is slightly shorter. So they do vary in length and time. And I will see you all then. With much love, have a good night or have a good morning wherever you are.